Hi, Evan Tate here. I was just reading something or listening to an audiobook recently about today's music industry. And one of the trends, I see happening or read about or also see happening is that people really only buy single tracks of music and don't really buy whole albums anymore, whole CDs. Only differences I've seen in the jazz industry for the most part, in clubs, musicians are still selling total CDs, or musicians are still making CDs instead of their single tracks. And my question is why? um, and I'd like to hear your opinions on this, all the viewers. One, is it because, first of all, maybe jazz musicians are just not keeping with the times and just waiting to record whole albums before offering to the public, and instead of just recording single tracks and offer them to the public as they go along? Or is it or is it because the jazz audience is just really only interested in complete albums, so they want to buy CDs and they really just don't buy single tracks? Or is it because or maybe just the jazz musicians, since they don't offer single tracks, the jazz public just doesn't buy single tracks? Or maybe it's just that jazz musicians are just keeping it real and sticking to the tradition of really creating whole albums. You know, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, because one of my personal opinions on it is that, well, back in the old days when they were still shellac records, when we still had LPs, a whole LP fit about 40 minutes of music on it. That was a complete album. Once the CD came along, and many albums were transferred over to CD, but a CD can hold 60 minutes worth of music. So oftentimes these albums that were transferred over from LPs had bonus tracks on them in order to fill up the rest of the 20 minutes left on the CDs, which of course burning a CD or pressing a CD costs the same whether you put 40 minutes on it or 60 minutes on it. So there's more bang for the buck. Might as well put 60 minutes of music on it. Of course, at the end of it, this put a stress on the artists themselves. They had to start really creating albums 60 minutes long, 60 minutes worth of music instead of 40 minutes worth of music. And personally, some recordings I've heard, uh, CDs for some artists are sometimes just too long. You know, just time. There comes a good curve, and then it seems like this the album only has maybe like two or three tracks too long on it. You have to decide how do you feel about that, or if you even notice anything like that. And so, like now, with the whole offering of single tracks, okay, I don't see really jazz musicians doing this, but my opinion is that the whole idea of the concept of an album is missing, is getting lost this way, because an album tells a whole story, it tells a complete story, and buying the single tracks of an album just doesn't get the whole story, not the whole story that the artist intended to. um, or so that's what I'm looking at. Or maybe just these days, maybe we artists are just too fixated on telling whole stories, and maybe we should start really concentrate on just documenting our music, documenting our progress, and instead of documenting a whole story of a whole album. Um, for those of you who are, you know, uh, jazz musicians yourselves, jazz artists yourselves, please, in the comments below, give your opinion. And even if you're a jazz listener, you're part of the jazz audience, give your opinions as well. What do you think is happening? What do you think would you like to offer? I mean, what's your opinion on these things? Well, anyway, take care, and I'm looking forward to reading your comments.